Microphone. There we go.
Did you just McConaughey it?
Yeah. All right, everybody.
So that's...
Hello, and welcome back to Dallas Geek. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, or if it has been a minute, I'm Brad. That's Mike. This is Kyla.
Hey.
Whatever.
And yes, this is the first time all three of us have been in studio. Well, in studio together since the Great Plague of 2020.
We're not supposed to say the P word, Brad.
No, we're not supposed to say the C word. The P word is fine.
I don't think either P word or C word is fine, Brad.
I mean...
Any of them in any context whatsoever.
I mean, some context.
I guess it just depends on what kind of relationship you and your partner have.
Fair. That's totally fair.
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah. But
we can say Wuhan though, right?
No.
Ooh, no. The W word is definitely off of Google's no list. Sorry.
So we're just letting Google run everything now?
Yes.
Have you
not figured that out? Google and Disney run the world.
All right.
That's how this works.
Go get the muskets.
Google and the mouse, okay? And we don't disrespect either.
I'll disrespect
never.
Google all day long.
Never. But guys,
You can, I'll be over here.
That's fine.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us, though. We absolutely appreciate it.
Very true.
If you can't tell from the backdrop that we have going on, we are back at Madness Games and Comic in Plano.
Yep.
Indeed.
Plano, Texas. If you couldn't figure out from the
go.
Dallas Geek reference, we're North Texas. Yeah.
If you couldn't figure that out, then we got problems.
I mean, geography is not really
that.
well taught these days in public
Suggest you let
schools,
that
so...
Nothing's taught in public schools. Jesus Christ, look
Are
at the
you-
curriculum.
Excuse you?
That's not what I said.
Excuse you?
You're allowed to smack him. I mean, if anybody is.
That would be on record domestic violence. We do those things behind closed doors, Brad.
It's true.
Well, you know. Anyway, so yes, we're at Madness Games and Comics in Plano. We absolutely appreciate the wonderful setup to be able to do this, and you know,
Big love.
if you have not checked out Madness, you really should because they're awesome. They have an amazing selection of games, comics, obviously, and after their recent rearrangement of the store about what, a month? 2 months ago now?
Give or take.
Month and a half, yeah.
Month and a half. It's now about a third collectibles.
Yep.
Yes.
So if you want to see some awesome collectible selections, and not just pops, because I know some people kind of misconstrued collectibles and pops as being, you know, only the same thing. No, there's a lot of others.
And I was just about to say, like, if you have an addiction to pops like Mike and I do.
I mean, there are a lot of pops, but you got a
Yes.
lot of other options,
I don't
too.
have an addiction. I can stop anytime I want.
Can you?
Sure you can.
I sure can.
How many pre-orders do you have?
I've seen the boxes.
I mean, I know you've seen the boxes, but...
I live with the boxes.
Anyway.
Who let you out of your box?
Me.
All right.
With that, guys, yeah, definitely come check them out. You should. And yeah, no, honestly though, I think my favorite part of the store is the games section.
Mm-hmm.
It is such a massive selection of
Yes.
games.
As you guys cannot see, we are surrounded by nerds as far as the eye can see, playing all kinds of tabletop and card games.
Yep.
Which, I mean, they are our people, but
It's true.
you know.
It's true. It's very true.
But yeah,
And when we say games, we're not just referring to, like, board games. There's also, like, different tabletop games, including, like, D&D, Call of Cthulhu, and stuff like that, too. So,
and of
lots
course,
of
you
options.
got a bunch of different card games, and I mean, yeah, we can't even begin to explain the full selection because it's just that massive. And of course, huge miniature section.
Yes.
So,
Oh my gosh, yes.
Very
that-
much so.
Pre-painted
guys.
and primed for you, too.
Or blank, so you can paint them if you would like.
That's what primed means.
Oh, whatever.
But you know, now that I think we've done a bit of shilling here for this wonderful store, it's time for some shilling for ourselves.
If they're going to let us be here, then we might as well shill for them as much as we can.
Very
fair.
true.
Yeah, are
It's
we
totally
allowed
fair.
to say shill?
Oh, absolutely.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Probably not.
now for the absolutely shameless self-promotion. Guys, if you have not already, please do be sure to like and follow us over on Facebook, like and subscribe over on YouTube.
It's a big
and
red button.
if you have not already, go check us out in audio form for the audio of our live shows, our interviews, and of course our audio exclusive podcasts that come out every Thursday at noon.
They say bad things on those.
We most certainly do.
Yes, they are definitely not family appropriate, so check them out.
Is it Dallas Geek After Hours? After hours.
After hours, yes. But yes,
I mean,
guys,
that would be appropriate because I'm naked when we record them.
I mean, they can't see it, so
It's true.
I guess they can't prove you wrong.
And it can't be construed as public indecency.
I mean, it is indecent, though.
But
It's
not.
very indecent.
Oh, it's not.
But yeah, you can check all of that out over at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher, because reasons.
All of them.
Yeah.
Pick your poison.
So,
Never. 27.
42?
I'm just trying to, like, cut him off right as he's about to talk just to
69?
screw with him. Thought we said this was a family-friendly show.
It doesn't mean anything unless you make it mean something.
The way you
you're
giggled,
the
it
one
does.
with dirty mind.
Really, I'm not the one giggling over here.
I mean, you're the only one that said it out loud. So,
Oh, did I do that thing where I say the quiet part out loud again?
often.
Sometimes,
Yes,
yeah.
often.
Frequent.
Yeah. But,
Yes.
with that, let's go ahead and dive right into the first topic of the show today.
Which is? Oh, sorry,
Give
did I steal your
him a
thunder a little bit there?
chance.
Okay.
San Diego Comic-Con, and
What about it?
the fact that DC and Marvel have absolutely said see ya this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say I blame them since it's yet again another remote show, and I don't think they got a whole lot of attention last year. And this is probably an easy way to be able to cover up the fact that they don't have a lot of promotional material ready right now.
No.
I would say
probably
100%
not.
Probably,
that's what it is, to
but
be honest
still.
with you. Because, I mean, Marvel just had, the Disney shareholder meeting, where they pretty much laid out everything for Phase 4. And then they basically said, like, okay, we're done, bye.
Yeah.
So, what does Marvel exactly bring to the table in a month and a half? Or no, not even. No, God, no, it's this month, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's July already.
Oh
Holy
my gosh.
shit.
Mouth.
Yeah, I'm not.
I can
language.
say that.
No.
Preferred not.
Well, I don't give a damn.
Why are you so, like, difficult? Why are you like this?
I am a product of my environment.
Are you?
Yes, everybody is.
You've met his family. I'm sure
I
that
adore
they
his
dropped.
family.
No, I'm
They're
saying,
amazing.
I'm sure that they dropped him on his head at least a couple times.
Or not enough.
No, Heather's younger one, so that didn't happen.
He was the experimental one.
You are the middle
And I'm the only boy.
and the only boy.
Yep.
No, so I think it's 100% a case of what did they bring to the table? Because Marvel showed off, Marvel flopped it out and threw it on the table at the shareholders meeting, so we know what they've got coming.
Yep.
Warner Brothers can't figure out what the hell they're doing.
Well, and
No.
of course, Warner Brothers just was bought by AT&T, was it?
I believe so. That sounds right.
Yeah. So I mean,
If it actually goes through, which
Yeah.
who knows?
so yeah, I mean, even then though, Warner has never really known what to do with DC. I mean, just
Something we're going to talk about here in a little bit, huh?
look at
It's like-
what happened with the Snyderverse, back to the
my
revised
gosh.
non-Snyderverse, to the Snyder Cut, and now the debate between do you restore the Snyderverse, do you continue with something with what you were doing before, do you do something in between,
You
and
know,
the fact that
they're-
they have not actually had a solid public statement explaining what their plans are.
They're literally doing the throw wet noodles at a wall and see what sticks.
So-
method.
Absolutely.
So the rumor that keeps coming up is that the Flash movie is going to basically be whatever they decide on. Because the Flash movie is Flashpoint. So whatever comes out of the Flash movie is supposed to be
Forgot
what...
it was supposed to be Flashpoint.
Yeah. We're getting Flashpoint literally in his first standalone movie. Good job. Because there's not, Jesus Christ, 80 years of history to go through first.
No, or like the chance of just absolutely butchering a very emotional story.
Well, yeah, but one that's only 10 years old.
Well, the problem
Saying it's
here.
still very emotional.
Oh, I don't disagree. But at the same time, this is the what's wrong with this generation argument.
Well, I mean, the problem here, though, is... Okay, it's not what's wrong with this generation, because if we're being all honest here, there's nobody in our generation or after that is in any level of power at Warner.
That's
so this is not us. This is
Gen
a
X?
boomer thing. No,
Is it
this
boomer?
is solidly a boomer thing.
No, because if this was a boomer thing, they would be
wouldn't have
recycling.
superheroes.
Well, not only that, but they would also be.
No, we would, because they know it makes money.
But we would also be recycling stories from that generation, like from the '60s and the '70s. It seems like DC
Have we
has
not been recycling stories for like 2-3 decades now?
No, DC in the last decade hasn't done anything past 1990
That's my
at
point.
the earliest.
That's my point.
Right. I'm saying if this was actually a boomer doing it, they would be focusing on stories that were when they were kids.
Think about what you just said. They've not made a story that was past 1990.
He's saying
What
so
happened?
He's
What
saying
was before 1990?
No. 1990 being past meaning in the past 1990. So they've focused on the 90s and earlier, not later.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm
Right.
saying. So what was before the 90s,
The 80s,
and
the 70s,
who grew up in the 70s?
the boomers.
Gen X. No, it's Gen X.
Gen X. Well,
No,
I guess 70s,
technically, yeah.
80s technically. Yeah, no, you're right.
But
you're right.
you're missing my argument, though. They would be using stories from that time period, not more modern.
Well, you can't even say that they're using stories from
Well, I
modern.
mean, you're not wrong.
They're cannibalizing stories from modern and
That's disrespectful
giving
to
their own little
cannibals.
twist.
That is very
That's
disrespectful,
disrespectful
to
to
cannibals.
cannibals, Brad. They're people too, because you are what you eat.
I
And I win. That's my point for the day.
You're walking home.
I feel like there's
Wow.
I feel like our potential cannibal audience is already low enough. I'm not worried
Oh,
about
hey, look
their
at that.
opinions.
After that comment, nobody is watching us anymore.
Oh my!
But no,
You know the goal is to make both of you like do the whole like grab your face and groan thing,
well,
right?
you succeeded.
What, 5 minutes in? 10 minutes in? I mean,
Looks like we have Tom already in the comments.
Hello, sir.
Tom.
Appreciating the fact that Kyla's actually on screen for
Yes.
once.
oh yeah, instead of behind a camera.
Yeah.
Or in the kitchen.
Wow.
You appreciate what I do in the kitchen.
I do.
Yeah,
It's tasty.
thank you.
It's yummy. No, but that's the singular problem right now. Is maybe it's a good thing that Warner Brothers isn't going to be there this year. Now they can take a year to actually game plan and figure out what they want to do. But every time we turn around, we hear
You're expecting studios to game plan? Really?
I mean, if-
you have high expectations for them.
if Marvel Studios can do it, why can't everybody else?
I have high school kids that can plan better than than DC Studios is doing right now.
No shit. But the main problem is we still don't know what's coming. Like every time we turn around, we hear a new rumor that Cavill's still going to play Superman.
Well,
Let's be honest,
But then
he's
we
one
hear-
of the best ones so far.
But then we hear that now Bad Robot and J.J. Abrams are doing a reboot of the Superman franchise. But it's supposed to be Calvin Ellis and not Clark Kent, but then it's going to be Clark Kent, but not Calvin. I don't know.
look, here's the problem that I have with Warner's approach to superhero movie making. It obviously DC specifically, but in general, any superhero movie they've ever tried to make. They are so much about the hype
Oh my
that,
gosh, yes.
and they are 100% dictated by public opinion. They have the thinnest skin of, I think, almost any studio. Like, I would be willing to say Universal has thicker skin than Warner Brothers does, as far as making a decision and frickin' sticking to it, rather than allowing public opinion to change their mind.
Which is hilarious because this is the same studio that gave us the Nolan trilogy, where they literally just said, however big you need the check to be, just let us know.
Yeah, and they are so
Do you think
dictated by
they
public
were-
opinion. They want to push out hype for whatever is popular in the moment, and they're not actually trying to plan anything. And that is one of the most frustrating parts of it to me, because it's so much wasted potential. And knowing the directors they're pulling in, knowing the talent for the writing staff they're pulling in, they're actually getting solid creative talent. But there's so much.
So I will argue with
There's
you.
so much nitpicking from on high, even if they could have made a good movie. That was never going to happen.
I will argue a little bit. With solid creative talent, they would stick to their guns.
In what way?
In the sense of instead of allowing public opinion and like public outcries and calls for this, that, or the other to change their stance of things, they would go, "This is what we're doing."
Which director has changed their opinion about the movies?
Does this guy know that I don't know names really well?
No. But that's what I'm saying. So far, the only people changing their opinions about based on public opinion is the studio, and then they go in and enforce the director. There hasn't been a single article that I've seen where a director for a DC movie came back and said they changed their mind about their own story after hearing public backlash.
I guess then, what does it say about that person when we've heard of other writers and stuff like that, when trying to be forced to move into a direction, they end up leaving the project because they go, "This isn't my thing and I'm not going to have my name attached to it."
You just saw it with Doctor Strange. Scott Derrickson left because he was completely disagreeing with what Marvel wanted to do with the sequel.
Well, I mean...
And I give props to him.
I think the problem...
and we got Sam Raimi back behind the camera for a superhero movie, so...
which is fair.
I'm sorry, I'm counting that as a win for everybody involved.
No, definitely.
No, look, the problem that I have is that DC picked the wrong guy from the very beginning.
Well, yeah. So, here's the thing. I know this might be a controversial statement based on the things we've said in the past, but I don't actually think that Zack Snyder is a bad director choice for a superhero film.
Give me something to throw at him now.
But...
No.
I don't think he's a bad director choice for a superhero film. Mm-hmm. I do think he is a bad choice to be the creative lead for an entire cinematic universe.
Okay.
I think his style can fit a superhero film well. I think they chose the wrong superhero to give him. I think if they'd given him one of the grittier superheroes, they'd given him Batman, which would be the gimme, or hell, if they'd given him Green Lantern, I think he could have actually knocked that out of the park because his stylistic choices could have given us something that we haven't seen with that character and would feel new and fresh.
Sure, so...
However, the moment you try to put him in charge of the creative direction for the entire universe, now you're saying that no matter what other director you bring in, all of them have to be hamstrung by his style, because he has shown he doesn't know how to share creatively.
Well, look, I completely I don't think he's a good storyteller at all. I think he puts pretty pictures on film. Name one of the stories that he's done that's been good. Name one of any of the movies that he's done. 300, a historical event that was an overly comical bastardization of the story. Watchmen, that's about the only movie that I'll give anybody for a Zack Snyder film is Watchmen. And even then, that bastardized the source material heavily.
Yeah.
So much so that Alan Moore hated it, but then again, what property doesn't Alan Moore hate when it's adapted to live action?
Alan Moore licenses his IP out just so he can hate on it.
That's something you're probably not wrong.
We don't shame in this household. I can't say the actual word, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
Sucker Punch? Like, really?
What? Are you laughing at me still?
What?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, because he just got it, because he's a quick thinker. Sorry, which one? Okay, so Sucker Punch and then Man of Steel?
By the
really?
way, Kyle, Aaron's throwing a lot of love at you in the comments.
Love you, boo.
But, so Man of Steel, so Christopher Nolan literally told Zack Snyder and David Goyer not, spoilers coming, if you haven't seen a 7-year-old movie, for Superman to not snap Zod's neck. And they still went ahead and did it anyway. When Christopher Nolan is telling you not to do something... And then, the best part of all of that is all of the backlash that movie received for how Superman was literally toppling skyscrapers with people in them.
Yeah.
They then went and used it a major plot point in the next movie.
So...
which was bastardized as well.
Here's the one thing that
Save Martha.
Here's the one
Brad,
thing
you
that
gotta save Martha, Brad.
If,
We've got to save Martha.
If Warner Brothers wanted their cinematic universe
Nope. There you go.
to be more gritty and realistic, and that's why they wanted the Superman movie to be a lot more destructive, I can understand to a certain extent.
Can I
the problem?
Can I do a shout out? Or do I need to hide the label?
I mean, you can show the label, but there's no point in giving them free advertising verbally.
Please send us stuff.
I mean, we would love to be sponsored by somebody, but
Tall, skinny, silver can with blue symbols and red writing.
Yeah.
It does give you wings. Okay,
But
sorry.
honestly, though, if they wanted to do that, I could see that being an interesting concept because it would have been a proper counterbalance to Marvel's approach to superheroes. The problem is that's not the direction they end up going with every movie that came after that.
No.
And so if they wanted to keep the tone from that first one on, I would have had more respect for them. But they didn't, and it just got so muddled.
Well, my only problem is that, again, you say, he would have been great for Batman. He screwed Batman up. If there's a 1% chance he's our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute. That's odd math coming from the world's greatest detective.
I mean, you're not wrong there.
I mean...
Batman knows his stuff, but he doesn't deal in absolutes. Like,
And then the fact that they were literally both outwitted by Jesse Eisenberg.
hey, don't hate on him.
I love
okay?
Eisenberg, but god damn, was he
I love him as an
atrocious in
actor,
that
but
movie.
my gosh, that was the wrong casting.
No, hang on, let me feed a Jolly Rancher to somebody provocatively after I just drained the 3 on somebody's grill.
Don't forget about the jar. Don't forget about the jar.
That sounds a lot worse than it actually is when you say it like that.
And yet,
And then let us
you
not
know
forget...
what it is, and you can't say that the fact that
Right.
it is what it is isn't pretty awful.
And then let us not forget that those characters were pitted against each other because they were both outsmarted by that guy.
Cody said, confirm Batman is Sith.
Right?
I mean, you're not wrong, exactly.
The only good thing about that entire 2 hour and 40-minute
I
movie...
think Batman would be a gray Jedi.
Probably not.
That's actually pretty fair. That's pretty fair.
The only redeeming thing about that entire movie was him going into the warehouse and saving Martha Kent. That was the most vicious, most brutal, grounded fight scene that I've ever seen in a Zack Snyder movie. And it was beautiful.
That's fair.
The only problem is that it was 3.5 minutes of a 2 hour and 40-minute movie.
Hold on,
So-
so, how long was it? 2 hours and 40 minutes?
Yes.
So 120, 160. Keep talking, you're good. Hold on.
Well, I mean, if
Sweet
you
hell.
go back and look at most of the DC films that have come out so far, there has been a massive
Like less than 1% of the movie?
Yeah.
there's been a massive push and focus to try to get as many of the famous comic frames somewhere into the movies that they can make it so that you have that recognizable moment.
So we can do the DiCaprio from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I
haven't
Oh,
seen
wait,
it
I've got to
yet.
get a beer in my hand first.
Yeah. So the problem with that, I mean, you're not wrong, but the problem with that is it completely misses the point that Marvel understands. While Marvel has put into their movies scenes that feel like it was pulled from a comic book,
So good.
there's not a single scene that was actually from a comic book.
Right.
And that's the point. They're going after the concept behind the characters in the stories.
Yeah.
They're not trying to imitate that exact, frame by frame piece of the story, hoping that you'll recognize it and then come to see it again because of that.
Yeah.
No.
It more captures the
It's
emotion of it
soulless.
as opposed to, literal.
Yeah, it's absolutely soulless when you do that.
But I think we've beaten this horse as long as we could.
Have
Yeah.
we?
Well,
But,
I mean,
there is one other
I don't ever
aspect.
get tired of beating a Zack Snyder horse.
But there's one other aspect to this that we haven't really touched on, and it's that Marvel and DC backing out of Comic-Con this year does kind of point out one other thing that we brought up multiple times before when we talked about conventions, and it's that the traditional format for a convention feels like it is becoming less and less relevant when the times are dictating that things have to change.
Yeah.
Especially last year and this year.
Oh my gosh.
You need a flexible format that can handle an online setting and that can still give an experience that is at least somewhat comparable to the in-person setup. But even when you are in person, tell me how many conventions we've been to that you can honestly think back and say that you could feel a difference between convention A, B, and C that was distinctly that convention.
That's a very good point. That really
Yeah.
is. That's something I feel like maybe people have just lost, is that each convention from year to year, they don't have that sense of wonder. They don't have that sense of like, this year was so much memorable for this reason, or this year was so memorable for Y reason. Not to get political or anything, but you know,
We have mic feedback.
we have mic feedback. No,
Why are you feeding back?
that's a good question.
Momentum. Try now.
Hello.
Aha.
Are we
Okay.
fixed?
Go for it.
You know, a real technician would
jubbly?
have figured this out before we started.
Well, I mean, in fairness, this time we actually did go through
That
the
one mine?
full
This one's mine. This one's
tech
yours.
test, and, you know, things happen.
But you know, hey, they could have still had SDCC in person this year if they'd have just opened their states up.
Yes. They could have. They could have, but...
Necessary?
Just had to throw some politics in there. That's all.
And by the way,
Always
thank you,
with the politics.
Aaron, for pointing that out.
Wow.
Absolutely appreciate it.
Feedback,
feedback.
probably. No, look, I think I think you're 100% right. I think they've lost what makes each convention stand out and what makes each convention memorable.
Yeah.
And I think until they find that again, I guess would be the way to say that. I think you're still going to have conventions feel like, you know, we went, we had fun. Am I going to remember this like 2 months from now?
Well, would you say that they've lost their certain je ne sais quoi?
I don't know what that means.
This is the boy that didn't take a foreign language.
I took Spanish.
And I took German, so I mean,
This
do
is
with that what
Texas.
you will.
Taking Spanish doesn't count.
What are you talking about? It's actually the most
Taking
beneficial language to take here.
Taking Spanish is just necessary to live here. That doesn't really count as a foreign language. That's part of living in Texas.
So what does it mean if I took 3 years of German?
That means you were smart and well-rounded.
Are you ready for the? You ready for the rise of the Fourth Reich? What are we doing here?
You don't know.
I don't,
Anyway.
unfortunately.
Anyway,
Moving on.
But no, I mean, we brought this up when we talked about the issues with this year's E3.
Mm-hmm.
If you look back
such a
and look at the
disappointment.
coverage that G4 had for E3, for Comic-Con, they were able to show off the personalities that each of those conventions had when they were going on, and it was a wonderful thing.
Well, G4 is back.
But the problem
Almost.
the problem is, I think part of what ended up happening was that because they had an outlet like G4 covering their conventions, there were more nuanced aspects of the conventions that were willing to try to become unique for the sake of being shown off to a nationwide audience.
Yeah.
Without somebody replacing them in the intervening years, they've gotten complacent, and most conventions will follow the big guys' lead. So if Comic-Con
wrong.
isn't doing it, if E3 isn't doing it, if Dragon Con isn't doing it, then you're going to have a lot of the smaller conventions that are going to think that, well, why do we need to put the extra effort in? Because this is just the norm.
And you're even-
it kind of sucks because there's so much that you can do with it.
You're even seeing it like, I hate to say it, but like pops, like collectibles, like exclusive show collectibles.
Oh my gosh.
Have been really lacking the last year or two.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So,
But
yeah.
moving on,
Indeed.
because again, we can just beat this horse for an hour and hours and hours, and I won't ever get tired.
You would think.
Yeah, you good there, Brad?
Yep, just bumping up the game.
Yeah.
There we go.
Gotta get those gains, bro.
Oh, absolutely.
So we have 2 points now? Is that how this point system works?
With that, so
Just gonna give you a solid backhand as soon as we get home.
Remember, we don't do domestic violence on camera.
I said
we
when
don't
get
comment about it on camera because then it's evidence.
home. Fair.
Anyway, but speaking of Marvel, there is one Marvel movie that did just come out, and you guys had the opportunity to go see it last night.
Yes, it was fantastic. Well, we saw
And
it.
what
Friday.
was the movie?
It was Friday.
Oh,
it was
sorry,
Black
Friday.
Widow. Got to see Black Widow.
Finally.
Got to see Natasha. Oh. Miss
Finally.
Scarlett Johansson.
No, look, spoilers, non-spoilers?
No spoilers.
No
It just
spoilers
came
because
out.
it's still opening weekend. You can't do a spoiler review live on opening weekend. Are you
I
kidding?
can do whatever the hell I want.
We
This
are
is my
also
show.
surrounded by many nerds here, and I don't need this.
We don't need to be crucified for giving spoilers on a brand new Marvel movie.
You think these nerds can do anything to us? Look at them.
If there was ever a
In
crowd
numbers.
that
Power
could,
in numbers.
I think that this is exactly the place where it would happen. They
But-
have the supplies.
Okay, that's fair.
Yep.
Anyway,
That is fair.
So, want to share your thoughts?
I really liked the movie. I think, look, this was one of those films. As weird as it's going to sound, I would have liked it more if it had come out last year.
Why?
Because we had to wait we had to wait over a year for this movie
Well, why would it have been better last year as opposed to this year?
because of everything that's happening right now in Phase 4. It would have fit more perfectly as the lead into everything that's coming, instead of us going forward and then going back
Careful.
please don't hit the microphone.
Like, as much as I liked this movie, and I did, it felt like watching it in this order has a really bad feeling of like having to go back to tie up a loose end to move forward.
See, I didn't get that feeling.
Now, and that's not
Just because it told its story, and the
Well, that's
only
what-
time that there was a... Go ahead.
that's not the fault of the movie. That's the way that my mind takes it, because we've already moved past it. Now we're going to go back to it, and it's of no fault of Marvel that it came out at the time that it did, because they didn't really have a choice because everything was shut down last year
And that's fair, but like I personally didn't think of
because
it
of
as
things.
words
And
we can't say.
at the time, they didn't have enough faith in their own streaming service for the now branded Premier Access.
Well, no, I think they legitimately wanted to put it in theaters because I think that they felt like this was the right send-off for the character. Is give her a moment on
Yes,
the big screen,
please.
let her.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'll give you that
because Johansson was an executive producer on it too.
compared to any other Disney film that has come out on Disney Plus.
Yeah, like the
as a
live
Premier
action,
Access.
the live action Mulan. Who gives a shit? Just throw it on Disney Plus and
The
call it a day.
difference that any of them had.
It also had a theater release.
Barely.
Yeah.
But it had one.
The
Yeah, fair.
difference between any of those and Black Widow is Black Widow had Kevin Feige. And Kevin Feige, as we know, has advocated endlessly for the aspects of the MCU that would really benefit the fandom. So
Yeah.
I do, from that perspective, I will say I respect that.
You know, I absolutely adored the movie. Like, it was... There were a couple of times I will say, so spoiler-free, mind you, but as a, like, heads up, do you ever forget how dark Black Widow's origin story is? And how effed up it is? Because I did, and then I was slapped in the face with it. Like, heavily, like, just open hand, cross face, and then back again. Like, it was just, I was like, ooh, it was heavy. But overall, like, the movie was really good, and I was telling Mike that the other day, my opinion on it was that I loved the fact that it was a female superhero movie, but it didn't feel like, oh my gosh, it's a female superhero movie, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
And that's coming from a woman, so I think it's okay for us to comment on it, right?
It's not very PC of you, but
I mean, you did say it.
you said it, so...
I'm just asking the rules of this PC world that we live in, Brad.
But that's how I felt about it, because for once it wasn't a movie that was like sitting there going like, oh my gosh, this is a girl. Oh my gosh, it's a girl. Did you know it's a girl? Did you know it's a girl superhero? It was just, this is Natasha. It's Black Widow. Here she is in her greatness.
Which, in fairness, is
Done.
kind of one of the biggest problems with the Captain Marvel film. I'm
Yes!
saying one of because There were a few, but it was one of the biggest issues.
Like
I
your
will
lead
say
being an unlikable human being.
Once again, we've had this conversation.
Yeah.
I like Brie Larson as an actor. However,
I didn't say actress. I said human being.
Yeah. However,
There's a distinct
the
difference.
director was way too inexperienced and really didn't know what to do with the actors he had on hand.
Yeah.
But what I will say is...
It was a guy and girl. It was a pair.
Oh, duh.
Though I will
Sorry.
say it
But
was one of my favorite Stan Lee cameos in Captain Marvel. So
That's fair.
Because it did put Mallrats into the cinematic universe.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say this.
which puts other things into the Marvel
Even-
Cinematic Universe.
Which
Even
we may
Wonder
talk
Woman.
about later.
Even Wonder Woman, and the first Wonder Woman was a fantastic film.
It was great.
In my opinion. Even it still had several kind of unnecessary moments where you pointed out female superhero.
Yes, like even like the scene where she's walking through the trenches, and they're like, "What is she doing here? Like, ladies aren't supposed to be here. What is she doing?" And
Yeah.
she's just sitting there like stripping off her clothes and like getting into her uniform and stuff like that
Yeah.
to literally charge across the battlefield, guns blazing at her and everything like that. But every single person she walked by had to say something to the effect of like, "What's she doing here?"
Aaron says Captain Marvel does not exist to me, just like season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones has 8 seasons.
Apparently, some
It's
people
alright,
under the
there's
impression that 8
there's seven
seasons
before
came
it that
out.
I didn't watch, so...
I didn't know there were 8 seasons.
Just like there's a 9th season of Scrubs.
Say again?
Yeah.
What? No.
Yeah, Dave
No,
Franco's in it.
There's only 8 seasons of
Excuse
Scrubs.
me?
Yeah, Dave Franco's in it, yeah.
There's only
What?
8 seasons of Scrubs. It had a wonderful finale with JD
Mm-hmm.
going off to his new life, his new hospital. It was beautiful. That was the end.
It was done.
I cried like a
What are you
bitch.
talking
And then they brought it back.
No,
No?
they definitely did not.
And it had the Franco that wasn't accused of sexual harassment.
Anyways, so you liked the movie? So you
I
liked the
did.
movie?
So I did. So look, like I said, halfway, like when we got out of the theater, I was like,
Spoiler.
it was the first thing that popped into my mind. It was just like, saw Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was fantastic. WandaVision was absolutely incredible. We haven't started Loki yet, but we're gonna knock it out probably in the next week or so. But like even
We've been watching Letterkenny.
like even the post credit scene, I was like,
The
like-
post-credit scene gave me whiplash for like no spoilers, but it gave me whiplash. I went from crying my eyes out heavily to cursing profusely.
like, and Florence Pugh was fantastic as Yelena Belova. Like if she's gonna be the one that carries on and as this character, like by all means,
Yes.
all for it. She was fantastic.
She was
She's an amazing
amazing.
actress.
Well, and talk about somebody else who is another bit of incredible talent to be brought into the MCU. I
Yeah.
mean, she is.
And it had
Awesome.
Rachel Weisz.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Plus, David Harbour.
Yeah,
I loved David Harbour.
Red Guardian.
I loved David Harbour.
But no, the story was great.
Remind me to talk to you about something about his character when
Yeah.
we get done.
So no, the story was fantastic.
Yep.
It was. It also had a sense of familialness, but not like forced down your throat.
Oh yeah.
Like they weren't actually a family, but they were a family, just like her family that she went and got back in Endgame, which spoilers was still heartbreaking. But
I feel like in-game spoilers is just about safe to say
But-
that the embargo is done.
the only complaint that I had was the Taskmaster reveal. And the only reason I have that problem is it should have came earlier in the movie because of what it meant to her. That should have been something she was dealing with for the entire second act and going into the third act.
So how late in the movie is that reveal?
Third act.
It's like middle of the third act.
Ooh, got
And it references something that is referenced in the
Act
first
one.
Avengers movie.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I've already had enough spoilers
Okay.
hit me. I get the general idea of what happens.
Yeah. Like if
So-
if that would have
Hey,
been
make sure you don't spoil.
yeah, if that would have happened earlier in the movie, like if that maybe is like the end of Act 1 and we have the entire second act of Natasha
Maybe-
having to
Are you saying maybe revealed to like the audience, but not necessarily?
no reveal to her. Because that was 20 minutes of screen time from her figuring it out to how do I fix this? Not actually having to live
Okay,
with
that's
those
fair. I
consequences.
follow you. I could see it being done earlier for her. I think earlier for the audience would have made sense, and then later for her, as opposed to the same time.
Build
for-
the dramatic tension.
Yes.
Well, so my only problem with that is that it worked for Winter Soldier because we knew that both of those characters were coming back and the fallout that would continue. There is no more exploring that fallout and how her having to...
That's a fair thing, Blake. So I like how Brad put it. Was like specifically for the dramatic tension of the movie itself.
That's fair.
Now, granted, the whole movie has a lot of dramatic
Yes.
tension in it, and it not necessarily edge of seat, but very like heart-heavy dramatic
Yes.
tension.
Very much so.
For
So
no spoilers, but
So I would say the big question that I have to ask is, looking at the movie as a whole, do you feel like it's just a little too late for this movie finally getting released, and it should have been done like several years ago? Or do you feel like this, it doesn't really matter when it was released, it would have felt equally valid no matter when the release date was?
I think...
So-
sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, with the story that they told, I think it fits perfectly.
yeah, for the specific story that was told in the movie. Now
And where it fits into the MCU proper.
I have a tear on just the character in general getting like their standalone movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because I worry that if it was done before Captain Marvel, we would have gotten the "oh my gosh, it's a girl" moment with it, and I don't think that's not Natasha's character.
No, and I think, like I said, for her arc in Infinity War and in Endgame, it makes total sense for this movie to take place when it took place, and for the plot to be what it was.
Yeah. So at least I'm torn on it. I'm personally, I like it better now that's after Captain Marvel, so we don't get the whole "it's a girl" sort of moment. That's already passed. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but
A little bit more respectful to the character itself.
again, also, I think it would have been handled better if it was being done with Scarlett Johansson and not Brie Larson. But that's just different talk for a different day.
Fair.
And honestly, I mean, there have been fans that have been asking for a Black Widow movie for years. There have been fans that have been asking for a lot of different female superhero movies for years.
Well, especially Black Widow, because she was introduced in the third film in the entire universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she is one of the. It's Tony Stark.
Yep.
It's Bruce Banner.
Yep.
Properly.
Okay, fair.
Properly. And then Thunderbolt Ross is in that movie. Abomination's in that movie. And then we jump right back into Iron Man 2, and it's her.
Yeah.
And so she's like one of the first characters introduced in this entire universe.
And unlike Bruce Banner, Black Widow did not have any licensing issues that were preventing them from making a movie. That was just a studio decision because, as it has been leaked before, Disney already has the little girl market cornered with the Disney princesses, so why do we need to cater to them again with a female superhero movie?
And you know what?
Because adult women want them to.
I don't care.
Please.
You guys get everything.
No.
Sorry, you girls get everything. Hey, what's up?
Excuse me.
I'm getting a little bit away from this one. Nope.
Excuse me. We get everything.
You absolutely do.
Nope. Not touching that one.
Oh, I'm gonna let that one marinate with you real quick.
It smells great, but it's gonna taste good too.
Can I say the B word?
It's perfectly fine to just smack the crap out of him.
Can I say the B word?
Only if you smack him while you say it.
No, because I'm not a big fan of the whole hitting thing.
All right, moving on. I have a headache, so that really helped. Thank you.
Nice little Denozo slap, a la NCIS. But I'd give the movie overall like a 9.5 out of 10.
Okay.
There's a couple little things in there that kind of was like a few moments where it sucked me out of my suspension of disbelief for a second, but it pulled me right back in. But overall, fantastic movie.
So, anything good going on in the comments? Who is that? Oh, it's just Aaron. No.
Hey,
All
Boo.
right. So moving on.
Wow.
It's Kay, I love her.
I don't.
I do.
That's fine.
And we have a random. She put cumin in it.
Yeah.
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 All right.
All right.
Anyway, but yeah, kind of jumping off of the Black Widow thing.
Mm-hmm. So do we want to stay with this topic then? Since
Yes.
it's a natural.
Yeah, so jumping
Yeah.
off of that, with the idea of female-led female superhero movies that could have and honestly should have been, who all should have already gotten their own movie before now?
That's really hard to say. Because are we talking just Marvel or are we talking everything?
Overall.
Okay, well, because DC could screw up a wet dream, so I don't trust them to do anything right. Come on, really? That one? I can't say that?
I don't think it's that you can't say it. It was just Brad. Are we? I need to keep a little tally mark of the times that both of you break for a second, or I break and just or who causes each other to break. And you get a tally point for each person.
And this is right after Aaron said in the comments that I am the dad joke.
You are the dad joke. No, look, I don't trust the fact that Wonder Woman was as good as it was is a miracle that of unto the Lord above. With Marvel, I think the argument can be made that we should have had something before Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Yeah.
My only counter argument to that is that there has been a plan since day one, and they planned things out several movies and several years ahead of time.
I mean, that's very true.
Now they didn't even integrating Black Widow into Iron Man 2. She is literally introduced as a piece of eye candy. There's a scene with her changing in the back seat.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, there's the
Not really one of the best parts of the movie.
Oh, it's a great part of the movie.
With no spoilers in it. The part in the movie, the thing with the.
Yeah. She's a poser.
I'm not a poser.
But
continue. Sorry.
But with that, you also saw. Wanda Maximoff had a fantastic arc in Age of Ultron. She may not have been the focus of the movie, but she was still an integral part of that movie.
Wanda in general.
Sure.
Gamora was an integral part of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Nebula's
And not just
whole arc in the entirety of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. So, we were still seeing female characters getting their respect in these movies. And I think they were just... I don't know if they were waiting for the right time. I don't know if it was...
Who's to say that one of the roles that a superhero that is introduced to the MCU, for example, couldn't have been equally well filled by a female superhero in that position? Or, let's even go a step further. You introduced Ant-Man and gave us the Wasp through that. Between two movies, how much screen time did she get versus him? And you could make an argument that in the first movie, she was equally as important to the plot.
She absolutely
was. But got, maybe a third of the screen time?
Yeah.
No,
I
Hope
said
Van
Michael
half.
Dyne.
Douglas got more than she did.
No, she didn't. No, Hope
Yeah.
Van Dyne was in a lot of the first movie.
Really?
Paul Rudd even says it. He's like, the reason that I'm here in the suit is because I'm expendable and you aren't. Paul Rudd's character in that movie is literally brought in as cannon fodder so that if something goes wrong, they can just have a stooge to sacrifice in the suit.
But is that almost more insulting because you're saying that we get in Ant-Man and the Wasp, we know she's badass. She can hold her own, and you're saying in the first movie that the two male leads are saying that they need to protect her. And
No,
that is the okay portion of the plot. Is that more insulting to her that the entire first movie is that she's trying to be protected by the two male leads when the second movie shows she didn't need that in the first place?
No, it was that Hank Pym had such low expectations for the plan to work that he expected whoever to go in to get killed.
He's saying it from story point. I think you're saying it from, like, audience point.
And it especially makes sense when you figure out that what happened to Janet Van Dyne.
But
So
once again, the story can be rewritten to make it better for her as a character.
okay, so then we're just talking about representation for the sake of representation.
No, I'm saying write a better story.
Well, was it a bad story?
I'm saying it could have been better.
How so?
If the first movie had put her into a stronger position as a character so that you didn't have to go into the second movie going, well, I mean, yeah, she kind of taught Scott a bit of what he knows as Ant-Man about how to fight and whatnot, but, you know, is she really going to be able to be as badass of a hero character as he is? And then you get the first scene of the second movie, you find out, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
What if we had learned that in the first movie because she got enough screen time, not even in suit, just in general, fighting just as much as he was, while defying her dad's expectations that she couldn't handle it, that this was too dangerous for her, and she was still kicking ass out of the suit when he wasn't looking.
No, I think you're misconstruing him not thinking that she can do it as to not wanting her to put that in
What I'm
position in
saying
the
is
first
you
place.
can rewrite the story to give her a stronger character arc in the first movie and still get relatively the same story, but give her more development in it.
Well, I think
That's what I'm saying. What if they had done that instead? Because even that could have been better than just waiting for Captain Marvel to come out to be able to give a whole movie to a female superhero.
Well, again, I don't think you're waiting for this and that. I think they strategically introduced characters into the MCU for which direction they were taking the MCU. There's a reason Doctor Strange was introduced when he was introduced. There's a reason his movie was brought in when he was brought in. And
While I don't disagree with you, I think more what he's trying to get at with it is that instead of the revelation coming, was it like 10 minutes into the second film, of her being able to hold her own with things, while it is a concern of her dad, of him,
her
dad. I'm trying
Hank
like
Pym.
Englishing.
Yes.
Well, it's a concern of her dad that she's going to get hurt, and it's she's my little girl aspect.
Sure.
If she got the opportunity to show him, like, I'm not your little girl anymore, I'm a badass, as opposed, like, maybe at least towards the end of the movie, as opposed to 10 minutes into the second one, is what he's trying to say.
Well, sure, but we also got an entire character arc in Avengers Endgame when Hawkeye loses his family and he goes on a murder spree to kill anything that gets in front of him. So, like, we've seen both aspects of what you're willing to do for your family to keep them safe and what happens when you lose your family.
Well, yeah.
Sure.
So,
I'm not
There are
disagreeing with
different
that.
ways to be able to get to the same plot points.
well, of course.
Just like how we
through
were
character
discussing,
development.
just how we were
Well, of
discussing
course.
the Taskmaster whole discussion a second ago,
Right.
of like, when do you show
Yeah.
that?
Right.
As opposed to how you said they waited till
Yeah, that.
like waited
That.
Right.
until so late. They could have done it sooner.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course.
They could have done it sooner with her, as opposed to, like he was
But then
saying,
does that-
waiting until later with Captain Marvel and stuff like that to show,
But
like,
doesn't that
girls
also-
can do it too.
Well, doesn't that also take away from Ant-Man's development, though?
Not really, because then you are... Would you say that Guardians of the Galaxy, being a team movie, took away from the development of any one character?
Groot.
Wow. What I'm
Just remember, he's family.
I am Groot.
Oh, son of a... Anyway, gosh.
I'm on
I am
fire
Groot.
today.
I am Groot. I am Groot.
So what I would say is
I think that
If-
was mine.
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
Ant-Man, the movie, by character development, from a character development standpoint, was essentially Ant-Man and the Wasp without the Wasp being the Wasp yet, you could still get an equal amount of character development for both co-leads.
Yeah,
rather
that's
than
fine.
having a lead and 2 supporting actors.
That's fine.
And that would be the difference.
Yeah, that's fine.
It would just be shifting the plot dynamic so that you, instead of having a lead and 2 supports, you'd have 2 leads and a support.
That's fair.
That would be the balance difference.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But
So-
I don't think that it absolutely was a detriment to the story because they didn't do it that way.
No, but when you take the context overall of Disney having been previously leaked that
Well,
they
again-
were so anti-female superhero prominence, it does bring up questions about, well, what could have been if this had been changed, or if this had been adjusted, or whatever. What would the MCU have looked like if
True.
Disney's almost detrimental bias towards the little boy market wasn't their driving factor?
It's a fair argument. It's a very fair
The
argument.
7 jokes that went across my head I can't say on camera. That's why I had to take a deep breath. So.
But we're also missing out on the biggest question of all of this.
Oh, jeez.
What if Edgar Wright hadn't left Ant-Man?
I mean, you're not wrong on that.
What movie would we have gotten?
Honestly, I feel like Edgar Wright could have given us a very interesting dynamic
Especially,
for...
especially since he
Hope.
went and did Baby Driver instead.
Baby Driver was so good.
But outside of Marvel, who else? Outside of the MCU, who else do we think is a female superhero that really deserves more attention, from a movie standpoint or just in general?
I think you have a strong argument for your first one, Mike, if you want to share.
What's my first?
We have props. We have props.
Yes.
Let you take a guess at who you think your first one is.
Gwenpool?
That's fine.
So my choice, because of the giant Batman nerd that I am, and my love for the Bat family in general, would be Batgirl.
Are you a giant Batman nerd?
Yes.
Had no idea.
Yes.
No idea.
I mean, my choice would be Batgirl. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. He's not representing.
You want to talk back family, and you're wearing.
Show your goddamn respect for Richard Donner.
And yet, I'm repping the Bat family.
Can I just say I'm representing the Bat family because I'm an all black?
No.
As per usual.
No.
I mean,
No,
in
you
general, goth is fairly representative.
But I mean, if we're doing female-led superheroes, the fact that we don't have a Batgirl superhero film yet, or just a film in general, sorry, is an absolute travesty
I
to
don't
the
think she
character.
even has her animated movie yet, does she?
No, she was used as a plot device in The Killing Joke,
Plot device.
and that's it.
I meant more in the first 5 minutes plot device, and then turned into an actual plot device.
They literally used her as a piece of ass and nothing else.
Yeah. We don't
Nice.
like to talk about the Killing Joke movie very much. It's too hard to keep ourselves PG or PG-13
well,
with that.
the movie, the story itself also isn't PG-13, so.
And our commentary is very much not PG-13 on
But
it.
the fact that we haven't gotten Barbara Gordon in live action outside of the '60s TV show.
I mean, in fairness, there was Birds of Prey.
So again, the fact that we haven't gotten Barbara Gordon in live action outside of the '60s TV show, I didn't
Barbara
stutter.
Gordon's pretty cool, actually.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Gail Simone
Well,
had an amazing
show
run.
the audience.
Yes, sorry.
If we're going to be recommending characters, might as well show off the stories.
Gail Simone had an amazing run in the New 52 with the character. Bringing her back, the New 52 basically reintroduced her, took her out of the wheelchair as Oracle and put her back in the suit as Batgirl.
Yep.
And it was her dealing with whether or not she felt she was ready to be back out there, if she was worthy to be back out there. And let's not forget, multiple people have carried the mantle of Batgirl.
A
But
lot of.
but they
I don't like how he
Not
goes
as
through
many as
Robins.
Robin. But,
what are there 7 Robins now?
I think.
7, right? Because
well, it depends.
Carrie Kelly, she's canon.
If you toss in Elseworlds, I feel like there are a few others that we're missing.
Well, I think it's just, yeah.
And do you consider the Dark Multiverse Robins as
Well,
Robins?
even in those are just different iterations of
Of the
a
same
Dick Grayson
person.
or a Damian.
But it is technically a different person. So I mean, the Batman Who Laughs and Batman are
Yeah,
different
Ship
people.
of Theseus.
Technically.
Yeah. Shit, Theseus, Jesus. But even if we don't want to go Batgirl and we want to do more like a noir style, like Batwoman.
Which, yeah, you can say that she has her own TV show now, but
That's not good. Sorry. Sorry,
it's not
good.
the best representation of Batwoman.
I like CW, but they
But like, look, even if you wanted to do like,
butchering DC.
like even the people that sit there and complain about the fact that like the Batman movies haven't been as much of the detective side as they should have been.
Yeah.
Right there it is.
Or even Oracle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But like the fact that she
Yeah.
hasn't even been anything except for Alicia Silverstone playing her, and even then she wasn't actually Barbara Gordon.
Which, by the way, I know that after Batman and Robin came out, there was it was all, the thing to just crap all over that movie in every aspect. However,
Don't say it.
of all of the parts of that movie that
No.
bugged me,
We don't hit on camera.
Alicia Silverstone's Batgirl was honestly the second most infuriating character aspect of the movie.
Well,
The first being, well, Bane, but but
really
no,
not Uma Thurman
actually, I'm kind of okay with her.
playing it that over the top.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're trying to say that the whole deal was trying to be like the '60s campy versions of the characters,
Which is the problem to begin with, but
her
continue.
version of Poison Ivy feels like she would have gone right in with the '60s Batman.
Along with Ice to Meet You.
Yeah, like I feel like that's actually more forgivable. But no, my problem with Alicia Silverstone's Batgirl is she was just so bland. And in the comics, as a character, Batgirl is anything but bland.
Batgirl's
She
a
is
freaking
incredibly
badass.
interesting.
She's a freaking badass.
Yeah,
Like,
she's
I'm gonna say
fantastic.
it.
Whether you're talking about Cassie Kane or you're talking about Barbara Gordon. Like,
Yeah.
Cassie Kane is literally like a mute assassin that her dad only ever taught her was to kill.
that
Was never
sounds
taught to
familiar. The
read,
person I'm
never
gonna
taught to
talk about.
never taught to read, never taught to write, never taught to talk. She was literally just so much so that when Cassie Kane first becomes Batgirl, she literally has a costume that covers her mouth. Because she doesn't ever talk.
Yeah.
And she just draws little quick pictures to tell people like what she's trying to like. There's a great story arc. I can't remember who wrote it, but it was Officer Down, and it's Gordon's shot. And they're trying to figure out who did it, and somebody's like, all of the witness reports have Catwoman there, and like the Bat family goes out to try to scour Gotham to figure out where she is, and Cassie Kane is shaking down some criminals, and they're like, what do you want? And she literally just holds up a picture, like a little stick drawing of like a woman with long hair and then little cat ears, and she just like points after she beats the piss out of them.
What do you want?
Like literally, like she's just like,
Still more emotional range than Hayden Christensen in Star Wars.
or Natalie Portman. Uma Thurman has an Oscar, and Joel Schumacher made her look like she couldn't act, but that's nowhere near as bad as what George Lucas did to
Ewan
Natalie
McGregor,
Portman.
Natalie Portman.
Or Ewan McGregor.
Or
Even Hayden Christensen. Christopher Lee.
well, definitely Christopher Lee. But no, I was thinking Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
But dude, like even
Oh no.
what's the word I'm looking for?
What?
Aaron's back in the comments.
Oh, even Hayden Christensen was good in Shattered Glass.
She, after the cast, I think, aggressively points.
Yeah,
Yeah, aggressively
like that's
points.
like that's her costume.
Oh, and of course.
Yeah.
Like that's like she literally does not have
yeah.
a mouth on the costume.
Oh, and of course we have a comment from Reza.
Liza.
Liza.
Saying Raven would be a good addition for
Yeah,
a movie.
see, I was going to talk about her, but I couldn't find
Like it's actually sewn shut.
like her book to like show off, if that makes sense. But no, I love Raven.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
She has I think I was telling you about it, a 6-part trade series. It's kind of
Yep.
still ongoing and whatnot. Talking about her backstory and like, I love Raven.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
let me just like gesture to myself real quick. Yes, I love Raven. I'll just lean into the like alternative stereotype of loving
This
my
would
Dark
even
Queen.
this would work so much even better if was it last summer that you had the purple hair?
It was 2 summers ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
the
had
purple
purple
hair
hair
and the
from,
goth. Yeah, I think that would be even more apparent.
Yeah, I like me some Raven.
She does.
She's my queen. One of them.
Little
She's pretty cool.
wannabe god.
Pretty cool.
Angsty ass.
But
But no, yeah, there are characters that like it still blows my mind that like as we start getting more and more like live action superhero films that I'm like, how have they not done this character? Like not even in their own lead role, but just in the live action
Like a general
sphere
sense,
in
yeah.
general.
with how many times they've rebooted Batman, you're telling me
Oh my gosh,
that
so many times.
they've included Robin in at least some iterations. They've done so many different things. You're telling me that they couldn't find the time or the willpower to toss in Batgirl for at least one version of a Batman movie?
No Supergirl either.
I mean,
For all the iterations we've had Superman.
Well, in fairness, there was a Supergirl movie, and Supergirl got her own show before Superman's modern version did.
So again, I say, not even a Supergirl movie.
Wow. I mean, nobody said that the Supergirl movie was good, but it
Right,
does
so again,
exist.
I say, not even a Supergirl movie.
It was an attempt.
Yeah. Or
Not
if
a
you
good
want,
attempt, but
like saying if you want more of Barbara Gordon as the Oracle, being
Oh,
like a
yeah.
strong detective and stuff, I
Yeah.
haven't had a
Ooh.
chance to read it yet, but I found out last year a book came out called The Oracle Code, and it's a
Ooh, yeah.
graphic novel
Yeah.
that follows Barbara Gordon when she's the Oracle.
Yeah.
So I mean, can't really
Yeah, 100%.
hate that too much.
So-
So,
yeah.
What about you, Brad? Who would you use? Yeah, I don't care.
Honestly, my big thing is Squirrel Girl.
See,
If I'm going to be getting,
her.
if I want to see more of a specific female superhero on screen, live action, animated, doesn't matter. I want to see freaking Squirrel Girl, only
she's
because
very underrated.
I think
Only if it's Anna Kendrick.
the one.
Please, oh my gosh.
Because I feel like she
I'm
would.
okay with that.
Well, I feel like she would be the one that could do it as quirky and as serious as you would need it to be to actually
I
make
think
it
so,
work.
I think everybody have. I think ever since that fan casting jumped up on the internet, I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten that there are a lot of other funny comedic actresses out there that could
And
probably
that's
do the
fair.
job too.
Yeah.
But my thing is, for superhero movies that need to come out, in my opinion, we have so many of the super serious movies, both the super serious grounded and the super serious fantastic and whatever. We do not have enough of the comedic. And
Not wrong.
I mean,
You're not wrong.
the fact that Guardians of the Galaxy came out
Hey, that's what
and
all
it
mine are.
was so massive of a hit, and people were so blown away because it was funny. Are you kidding me?
Well, and it didn't take
that
itself
was
serious.
The bar.
Yeah.
And because of that alone, we need
Guardians
more
of the Galaxy.
funny,
Yeah.
like explicitly funny superhero movies. So I think the weirder you can go, the better. So Squirrel Girl, to me,
What are you doing?
absolutely
Shaking
needs to be a
victim.
thing. and I know there have been talks about an animated something for Squirrel Girl. Cool. But I think that a live action version, if you have the right talent behind it, could be fantastic. And really the right amount of weird and quirky that we need added to the superhero sphere.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and I will say,
100%.
it does look like that Marvel is actively moving forward, doing like they are making it a top priority to include more female superheroes.
Oh yeah.
Like, you just had WandaVision. We finally got Black Widow.
I want more Gamora.
Sylvie,
and
from what I understand, I think is her name, and Loki.
Which I'm still incredibly disappointed that you haven't started that.
I
but
know.
Yes,
well, yeah.
yes, it is Sylvie.
We're also look in Phase 4. We're gonna get Yelena Belova return, possibly as the Black Widow. Spoilers. I don't really care. Get over yourselves. We're getting the Miss Marvel show.
Which I am
Kamala
so
Khan.
hyped about
Yeah.
that one.
Yep.
Oh
We're
my
getting
gosh.
Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye series. Then going further out, we're supposed to get She-Hulk. We're supposed to get. There's one that I'm missing that I can't
There's
think
By
of
the
more
off
way,
the top of my head.
I was such a massive Orphan Black fan. Tatiana Maslany. Yeah, that's how I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I am so okay with her being She-Hulk.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
was the fact that she could hold her own in Orphan Black, playing, I think the maximum in any single scene was either 6 or 7 different characters in a scene, and you never once thought that was all one person. You genuinely had the impression that those are like 6 or 7 different actresses.
That ugly jersey.
I am so okay with her being She-Hulk. I think that was maybe one of the best casting decisions they've made recently.
It is showing.
Yeah.
No, I never saw Orphan Black, but everybody's been gushing about her.
You need to. You would love it.
But I mean, like even like back in the Kick-Ass days, like you had like Chloe Moretz playing Hit Girl.
Oh, speaking of.
Which, oh hey, look at that.
So I was actually going to talk about the fact that I absolutely loved her, and I was really sad that, like, even though she was, let's face it, like the brute force in the entirety of Kick-Ass, that she didn't get more love, and I absolutely adored her. Mindy McClurry. Yeah, I want more of her.
Give me some pliers. I want to feed this guy his own dick.
Yeah. Like,
wait, what?
So, like, you were talking about how you said Casey, the name you just said?
Cassandra Cain?
Cassandra Cain. Cassandra Cain was literally, like, trained to be an assassin and, like, murder and stuff like that. So was Mindy after, like, her mother was killed and stuff like that, and her father basically trained her to literally only know how to kill and not feel and think.
And
so
it was done by Nick Cage.
It was done by Nick Cage. But
which I'm actually...
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I was so happy with that casting choice.
It was well done, but I really liked Mindy, and I want to see more of her.
Yep.
She has her series kind of moving on right now. A couple of them coming out with her being the main focus of things, which I would love to see more of her, because in both Kick-Ass 1 and then Kick-Ass 2, like, she wasn't really... She was the brute force, but was cast aside as the secondary character, which sucked. Which is what also happened in the comic books, but...
I think she was just as important.
While she was just as important, I would disagree that she was given the respect that she deserved.
Maybe not.
So, but yeah, no, I want to see more of her. I would recommend... I've been reading bits and pieces of it when I can catch it, but... My ADHD brain is hyperfixated on other things, so...
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. It's either all over the place or super focused on one thing.
And then we got one more character that we need to bring up before we move on to the next topic.
Also from Kick-Ass, instead of it just being Kick-Ass, a girl named Patience Lee comes back from the war. She's a sergeant in the army, and she takes up the mantle of Kick-Ass, and she doesn't have any patience despite her name. So... I like it. Yeah, she's pretty brutal.
And then who's the last one we have on the list?
All of mine were like the Goofy Universe ones that I were picking up on. I'm a really big fan of Deadpool. Like, I won't talk about the fact I have like...
Here comes the poser.
I have like, what, 28 or 30 something Deadpool pops?
Yep.
It's bad.
Go ahead.
Yeah. What do you mean go ahead?
Go ahead, show him.
What's wrong with Gwenpool?
Show him, poser.
I love Gwenpool. Also, it's funny that you call her a poser, because that's exactly what her backstory is, kind of. So,
I know.
But, yeah, no, her name is Gwendolyn Poole, and her whole thing was that she was reading comics, and then she ends up being sucked into a comic and uses her knowledge of all the superhero comic book characters and stuff like that to kick ass. I would love to see her on screen, because we've already seen that Deadpool has done really well.
Yep.
And I would not hate this iteration of her after she was inspired by Spider-Gwen, and they did a variation. Well, so the whole thing was that like it was the Gwen variants of all the different heroes and stuff or anti-heroes in this case.
Yeah.
But Gwenpool, literally, her whole thing is breaking the fourth wall because she's from the fourth wall, if you will. So
beyond the fourth wall.
Beyond the fourth wall, and this one she's breaking beyond
She's the
the
Watcher?
fourth wall. Huh?
She's the Watcher?
Something like that.
No, she gets involved way less than the Watcher.
Less involved, like that. But like, since she knows so much about like the different heroes and villains and stuff like that, she used that to her advantage too.
I am Awatu the Watcher. I only watch. Hey, Awatu, I lost my keys. I must once again break my sacred oath.
But yeah, no, I would
like
love
to watch.
I'd love to see Gwenpool on screen just because I really like the Deadpool feel and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think bringing in Gwenpool could just be really fun when she's like, oh my gosh, you're my favorite superhero, I know everything about you. And like accidentally calls, just as an example here, different universe in this case, but like, oh my gosh, you're Clark Kent. And Superman goes, excuse me?
Yes.
Or something to that effect, I think would just be, I would love to see it on screen. So
I mean, I also wouldn't mind seeing just a live action Gwen Stacy.
Also true.
Spider Ghost or Ghost Spider.
Yeah.
maybe this December.
I guess we'll find out.
God, I can only just hope as
So
hard as I
many
can.
We'll find out.
So many questions.
But with that, before we jump into the next segment, just real quick, since it's already been over an hour, we're going to go ahead and re-up the shameless plug and just say, if you have not already, please do not forget to like the video over on Facebook and follow us. Like and subscribe over on YouTube,
It's a big
because
red button.
it helps to keep the Google and Facebook overlords happy. And of course, you can always check out the audio of our shows over at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher.
All the things.
And of course, every Thursday at noon, we release an audio exclusive, very much not safe for the kids podcast.
But it is
which
totally
a lot
safe
of
for
fun.
work, so just go ahead and blast that over your speakers.
Well.
No?
You know.
What's next on the docket, Brad?
Well, since we were talking about different characters we would like to see as movie adaptations, it felt kind of necessary to at least go into try to have a little bit of a debate, if you will, about which...
You know you can't say that word with Mike, right?
I thought bait was fine so long as you didn't... Oh.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I wasn't trying to turn it into that thing. I was just saying that, like, debating is a
Well,
dangerous game with you.
See, that's the problem with you. You think it's a game.
But no, we figured it was a perfect time to be able to have a little debate about which
you go saying that
superhero
word.
movie had the best big screen adaptation of a specific character. Now, the rules here is that if the character spans multiple movies, like say in the MCU, you cannot just say that character from the MCU. You have to pick the specific movie and give your evidence. And of course, there will be a final winner at the end of all this.
See, that makes it real dangerous with this one playing. Like,
And the winner will not be Mike's choice. But
actually, I don't know.
No, we're basically going to rename this segment F You, You're Wrong, led by Mike Rookwood.
You can't say the F word.
I can say the word F.
I know, but I said you can't say the F word.
the F word.
I can say the F word.
Not saying the F word, I'm saying the actual F word.
But I mean, at some
Fudge?
point, it feels like, you know,
Fornicate?
people will figure it out.
The South Park thing. Can't say the rest of it because
Can I say...
fire truck.
Can I replace it with fornicate?
I think that might be a little on the line for Google.
Fornicate, Google.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be on the line for Google.
You could say fork like they do with the Bad Place.
There you go.
Get real close to it.
Or I can say frack.
Frack.
There you go.
Fracking Google.
But yeah, so we've each picked our own character, and we will see who wins. Kyla, you may go first.
Ladies
Let me
first.
first. I am no lady.
Women first. Broads first.
I am no lady.
Hussies first. Tramps first. I can keep going.
Wow.
Excuse you.
But if you're not a lady,
Woman.
I said woman.
Girl.
I didn't get to girl.
Yes, because you skipped over all the rest of it. If it's no surprise here at this point, since I literally just gushed about the idea of having a Gwenpool movie,
Poser.
my pick's going to be with Deadpool. I love me some Wade Wilson, and also you can't really hate Ryan Reynolds either, so yeah, my pick's going to go to Deadpool on best character adaptation.
Why?
Why?
Yes.
Okay, so,
Because she's like, oh shit, I forgot the why.
no, excuse you.
Supporting evidence.
Supporting evidence. No, so Deadpool himself is literally...
Right.
He's
That's
no-
my evidence.
He's he's known as the Mark of the Mouth, right?
Mm-hmm.
His whole thing is that he's supposed to be wacky. If you read the comics, he constantly breaks the fourth wall. I couldn't find a copy of it here, but where Deadpool destroys the Marvel Universe, literally has him, kills the Marvel Universe, literally has him coming out at the end to then like kill all of the comic book writers in the process, since they're technically part of the Marvel universe. So like that's kind of gives you an idea of like epitome of who he is.
And then goes after classic literature,
Yep.
and oh yeah.
And like literally like as the end is going, like you see him jump out and it goes from like being in color and it like goes to like black and white outlines and then goes to sketches and then eventually fades to white because he's killing the Marvel universe and he's taking care of everybody with it.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's so good. It's so good though. So like he's a very over the top character. Even like the two that I grabbed here is just like an example is when Deadpool was hired by Lord Dracula to kidnap Shikla so he could marry her and they could have like this whole power over the underworld because she is the queen of the monstrous underworld under Manhattan. And then the fact that they break up and then she wreaks havoc on Manhattan in the process. Or they're in the process of getting broken up. And like, it is just, it's so over the top with it. But when it comes to the Deadpool movie, it's so ridiculous. Like at one point, like he's going back for surgery to be in, for the treatment to cure his cancer and whatnot, which gives him his regenerative abilities in the movie. He's being wheeled off and he's like, don't make the super suit green. Or animated, literally a fourth wall callback to the fact that Ryan Reynolds played the bastardized version of the Green Lantern where it was an animated green supersuit, which looked ridiculous on whatever camera you put it on.
Now, I will say the suit didn't look bad, it was the mask. The mask is what looked bad.
Porque no los dos.
No, the suit looked fine.
But I mean, if he's the merc with the mouth, how can he be the merc with the mouth? You never see his mouth.
Like, you know, you see his mouth occasionally.
Wait, is that you? I guess Stryker finally figured out a way to shut you up, huh?
Well, see, and that's the other thing, too.
So
is
wouldn't
that, like,
his healing factor just basically spit the stitches out and he can just talk again?
See, and that's the other thing, too, is that, like, in the Wolverine origin movie, there's another bastardized version of freaking Wade Wilson, what we call it Deadpool, to where it's just...
No, it's the pool.
Oh, yeah, it's the pool. Where, like, literally in the Deadpool movie, you see him fidgeting with a couple of his toys and stuff like that, and he holds up the miniature version of himself from that movie, because it's also played by Ryan Reynolds. So it's the constant, like, fourth wall breaking, the reference to, I'm terrible with names, of, like, which timeline are we in right now when he goes up to the...
Yeah, we're taking you to see Professor. McAvoy or Stewart. You guys are so confusing with these timelines.
So, like, you can't tell me the fact that, like, so much time and effort was taken care of to stay true to his character and, like, what it was for him, that he was not, like, a great comic book to character adaptation for film.
Dude, the best part of that first movie is the outtakes. Like, when they're... Like, when he's trash-talking Gina Carano.
Dude,
Yeah.
You're making her argument for her.
No.
My gosh.
No, but, like...
What kind of
It's
debater
so
are
good.
you?
No, if anybody just wants a good laugh, that scene where he's like, you're gonna leave me here with like less aggressive Rosie O'Donnell or whatever, talking about Gina Carano, like the 20 or 30 lines that they use for it.
So good.
Like there's one where like she actually pops him and he's like, yeah, sorry Gina. She's like, you asshole.
Or the Ferris Bueller's Day Off end credit scene where he comes out and he's in the
What are you
row
doing?
and stuff like that. What are you doing? The movie's over.
Go on, get out
Go
of here.
on, get out of here. Shoot. That as well as like when he makes the comment about like I wanted to make myself look pretty and he turns around and it has a picture of Hugh Jackman stapled to his face. Like you can't tell me that like that's not a great version of Deadpool and well done version of Deadpool.
I'd say Deadpool's a gimme. I mean, you had a guy that
Is it a gimme so much the fact that in the Wolverine origin movie they still, I almost said the word, messed it up?
I'd say he's a gimme only because Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds are already kind of the same person.
That wasn't the case until the movie came out.
No, it absolutely was the case.
No, I would disagree.
Yeah, because he's basically Van Wilder.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe, but
I mean, not when he had
they
the
weren't
don't ask-
synonymous until the movie came
Don't
out.
ask
not
Zim
when he
what
had
thinks of Ryan Reynolds.
the
Oh, does he not like Ryan Reynolds?
He thinks he plays the same character in every movie himself.
yeah. I mean, granted,
I would disagree in the proposal.
not every
he's a little bit
version of
different.
Deadpool is Van Wilder, but a lot of them are. A lot of them are. So yeah, and I'd say he's a gimme at that point. I mean,
Fair.
definitely a solid choice, but I mean, a gimme.
It's also a gimme choice just for who I am as a person because he makes me really happy. So
That's fair.
And there is one thing that all men everywhere love:
it's Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds.
That's a TikTok meme, by the way, in case you.
Sure. What's your choice, Brad?
I'm gonna have to go I had a little bit of difficulty narrowing down on this one, and I almost went with Michael Keaton's Batman just to mess with you.
That was also a
but-
top contender for me, but like,
I decided,
But even in your heart of hearts, you know that it's not true.
actually, no, I would say that if you are being really honest with yourself, Michael Keaton was actually a fantastic Batman because he actually, in the first movie, his performance encapsulated the depression and solitude that is Batman for a lot of the Silver Age.
It's fair.
So I would say in that sense, he was actually a fantastic version of Batman. The story overall, not necessarily a comic accurate representation of a Batman story, but him as Batman, I think, was an absolutely
that was what the argument
perfect
was character,
encapsulation.
not story.
Really, because when I think of Batman, I think, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Do you?
No.
I mean, Batman has had so many different.
Again, you know, the whole thing with the sarcasm.
Fair. Yes.
Batman has had so many different versions of Bruce Wayne to try to throw people off the scent. I would say that actually feels very in character.
But Brad,
no, that's
let me ask
actually
you.
not the choice I went with.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Only on my birthday. But no, I would actually say my choice for best screen adaptation of a character was Chris Evans' Captain America in Captain America and the Winter Soldier because Captain America has two aspects to his character that makes him a quintessential Captain
Are you letting
America.
him say his piece and then gonna make a comment?
He basically took mine.
I thought you were gonna. Aww.
No, I have.
Yes.
Go ahead. Go
Yeah.
do your thing. Do your thing. Do your thing.
There are two.
And I will explain mine.
Actually, I partially chose this just to mess with you.
You did. I know.
Yeah, I know. It was
Asshole.
like he's literally trying to get like 2 votes just from
Yeah, but
See, I played for myself, Brad, as opposed to like for cheats. You know, just putting that out there.
so there are two aspects that make
Pandering.
Captain America
Pandering, that's the word
in the
I'm looking
comics.
for.
The first aspect is Captain America is constantly hopeful for the best aspects of humanity.
That's fair.
Every version of him has that.
Unless
is
he's
not
written by
necessarily.
Tanasi codes.
No, it's not.
Sorry, was
Moving
that
on.
out loud?
It's not necessarily prominent in every one of his stories, but it is there in almost every version of his character. But that's where the second aspect of the Captain America character comes into play. The other main reason why Captain America exists in the first place is he was created to be a patriotic critique on America itself. I mean,
I feel like he took this from the conversation we had the other day.
He did.
He didn't do his actual own research.
He did.
you got
He
to
basically plagiarized my argument.
In my conversation that we had.
I mean, you got to remember that when he was first created, his comic book was released in the 30s during the American period of isolationism, and his entire first comic book was an argument for why America needed to get into World War II. When you fast forward to
Sounds
Vietnam,
really like the conversation we had the other day.
when you fast forward to Vietnam, a very large portion of his story during Vietnam was speaking out and fighting against the war effort in Vietnam.
It's not very American, but continue.
To the point where the storyline that most
Tanasi codes writing
fans,
him in the 60s too?
most fans choose to forget about is there was a point during the war where he was no longer Captain America. He
No,
was,
it was after the war.
oh, it was after. Well,
it
yeah.
was the Watergate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was Nomad, the man without a country, because as a critique on current events.
Because he lost such faith in the office of the president and what everything stood for.
Now, I will say
And
That-
God, that costume was awful.
that was not a great way to give that particular commentary, but it was an effort to give commentary. So,
God, that costume
even
was awful.
at aspects of modern
But was it
Captain
green or
America
animated?
stories.
It was green.
Animated.
No, yes, because it was actually technically drawn.
Even aspects of modern Captain America stories have been critiques on the war on drugs, the war on terror, and the moment you get away from Steve Rogers' Captain America and go to other versions of Captain America,
Sam Wilson, Bucky
every
Barnes,
one of them have been
John
a critique
Walker.
on some aspect of it. Sam Wilson especially,
Peggy Carter.
but then of course,
Bucky Barnes,
no, why am I blanking?
John Walker.
Red, White, and Black.
Oh, Isaiah Bradley.
Isaiah Bradley, 100% massive
Oh, yeah, I
commentary.
forgot about Isaiah
So
Bradley.
it's not even just Steve
It's an
Rogers that
allegory
is.
for the Tuskegee experiment.
Yeah, it's not just Steve Rogers that is the commentary. It is the mantle of Captain America, but Steve Rogers' version of Captain America has had the most amount of commentary. And I would say in The Winter Soldier, he played equal parts hope for humanity and criticism of the American war machine, that it played a proper balance of the character, because it's very easy that any other actor in that role could have gone too far on the critique side and forgotten the hopefulness that the character has to have.
Well, so the other thing too that people, just to kind of add on to that, is everybody, like, I remember walking out of the theater and like I went and saw it with Zim and his brother, and they were like, man, Evans just didn't, like, he didn't have anything. I'm like, that was the point.
Yeah.
Like, he was supposed to be a subdued, straight line. Like, he was the
boy?
he was the Bale's Batman to Ledger's Joker. Like, he
Yeah.
was supposed to play it straight down the line, very subdued, very, this is how we're playing it, this is how it should be, to all of the anarchy that was going around him.
Yeah.
Going on around him, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. So, any arguments to the contrary?
It's a fantastic story. It's a fantastic choice.
So you're saying I win?
No.
No.
Okay, so then Mike, who was yours?
Well, so I took your little rules and threw them out the window.
Because of course you did.
So I chose Captain America as well. I chose Captain America from the first Avenger all the way through the final credits in a bone game.
We can't span it though.
I absolutely can, because
Nope.
it is one singular story arc.
But it's, we said one movie.
It's a movie.
I don't care,
A single movie.
Movie.
because his arc isn't even complete in The Winter Soldier. Even at the end of that movie, his arc isn't complete.
What comic story arc from Captain America's massive history was his character development considered done by the end of the story arc? It always builds. That's the whole point.
Well, of course it always builds, but if you are doing a straight adaptation to film, shouldn't it be the story that is told from the beginning to the end?
Once again, this is not the story. This is the character.
It's specifically
his
for the
character.
character.
Yes.
Right. His character...
Which means you have to be restrained by the confines of the movie and whether or not it did a good job at encapsulating that.
Fine. Cop out.
You still going with
Cop
Captain
out.
America then?
No. So I had a couple of different choices that I could make.
Well, there was one that you had already given earlier.
There was one that I alluded to.
Yes, I know. Which
is actually a
which
very
is what
good
I was
one.
expecting you to say, because
I
that
thought
was
so
actually
too,
a fantastic
because
answer.
I guessed
It was a
earlier.
fantastic answer. So Kyla thought I was going to go with Blunt Man and Chronic from Jay and Silent Bob, which is a fantastic choice.
I mean,
That would have been one that would have been an absolute curveball and broken both of your knees. I alluded to, when Brad and I were talking, Alfred Pennyworth.
There you go. From
Any of the Batmans.
eh,
Because there has, in my
even
estimation...
the Snyder Batman.
Actually, there was things that Jeremy Irons did that I actually really liked. But, my choice is from
Say
the
it.
best superhero movie ever made. It is Nolan's adaptation of Batman in The Dark Knight.
In what sense?
So, in the sense of, like, I just actually made the argument on your side, I'm making the argument on mine. For all the chaos that was going on in that movie, for everything that was going on around him, Christian Bale, who is an Academy Award nominated and winning actor, played the character so straight and so subdued as to anchor everything in reality and to also be the morality of that entire film, of that entire universe. He put so much effort into trying to make Harvey Dent the symbol of justice that everybody thought that there could be, because he was an actual face, and Batman himself actually knew that he shouldn't be a symbol for justice because he was somebody that was actually breaking the law. But he was doing it for the right reasons. So much so that by the end of the movie, you actually have the standoff where... I'm not even going to say spoiler alert at this point. The movie's almost 15 years old. The movie's 15 years old next year.
Don't gut
Isn't
me.
it? 2008? 2 years. Anyway.
We don't like to talk about that aspect.
It's an amazing film. Saw that movie 8 times in theaters.
He did.
The movie was amazing.
He did.
I will still argue that's not even just... I wouldn't even sit here and say that that's the best superhero... Like, that is one of the 10 best films that I've ever seen. For the story that it told, for how grounded in reality it is, for all of the practical effects that they did, for the fact that they flipped an 18-wheeler, not CGI, they actually flipped an 18-wheeler in the middle of downtown Chicago doing that scene. But there's 2 things. The scene where...
Hey. Chris Evans held back a helicopter.
He did. But
With
that wasn't
that
even
bicep.
But that wasn't even in the Winter Soldier. That was in Civil War, dipshit.
I'm just saying, more impressive.
Fair. And it was being piloted by a cybernetic assassin. There's 2 scenes that absolutely seal it for me. There's the scene in the interrogation room, where we finally get them together for the first time in the same room, and it's about halfway through the movie. Mm-hmm. And he's playing it so just, well, here I am. He's like, you wanted to kill. He's like, why would I kill you? Mm-hmm. It's life would be so boring without you. And you hear all of the insane, psychotic shit that's coming out of the Joker's mouth, and Bruce Wayne is sitting there knowing that he can't cross that line. He can't go into that scene because as much as he doesn't want to be, he is still the symbol, and he is still the anchor, and he is still the example that everybody should follow. And then when we get to the final scene of the movie, after the standoff with Harvey Dent, when Harvey Dent says, I'm the one that lost everything, you look back at everything that Bruce Wayne has lost up to that point. Yeah. And Bruce Wayne didn't complain a single time. Rachel Dawes, unbeknownst to him, basically chose Harvey Dent over him. Yeah. And he went specifically to go and save her. And he wasn't there for her. She died, but and what's the first thing that Bruce Wayne says? It's not. Yeah. He's like, but the Joker chose me. He's like, because you were supposed to be the best example. You were supposed to be the one that could be the beacon of hope that everybody needed. He's like, it wasn't supposed to be me. It was supposed to be you. But when you finally get to the end of that movie and Gordon gives that monologue of he's not the hero he's the hero we deserve, but it's just not the one that we need right now. He is everything that universe and that city is supposed to emulate and admire. Yeah. That man sacrificed everything for his city and never asked for anything in return. Because remember, at the end of Batman Begins, Gordon says, I never said thank you. And he's like, well, you'll never have to. I can't do the entire trilogy because of your stupid rules. But if you ever had
my rules are perfect. What are you talking about?
Anytime, you can't put us in a box, Brad.
It's true. What do you think we are, women?
Women don't go in boxes; they go in kitchens.
That's fair. Which have 4 walls, so it could. You know what? Never mind.
Always.
The ones that I will have in my home will. What? Moving along.
Have you ever heard of open concept, man?
No,
Get
God, no.
the times.
What is this, the 60s? No, but like I said,
I was gonna say you want wood paneling everywhere.
And the best part of that film is that
shag carpet.
The best part of that film is that when he is in the public light as Bruce Wayne, he is the arrogant, rich asshole that everybody expects him to be.
Billionaire playboy philanthropist.
Let's push some tables together. Well, I don't think that they'll let us. Well, I own the place, so yeah, we can do it.
Yeah.
Wait, what? So.
And of course, Aaron points out, don't forget that this movie was responsible for breaking one of the 4 IMAX cameras in existence at the time. Mm-hmm. So,
I will.
Sorry, what did you say for what?
One of the this movie was responsible for breaking one of the 4 IMAX cameras at the time that existed in the world.
Yeah.
like, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know. And as much as I love Captain America, look, and everybody that knows me knows how much I love that character.
Let me just like, even just do a quick even gesture to like.
Yes. Like, I walked out of The Dark Knight and I was just like.
If you weren't floored, are you human?
So I will never forget. There was like 8 or 10 of us that went and saw that film, and the end credits hit. And people are applauding, and we're all just looking at each other like, what in the hell did we just watch? Like, oh my god. Like, that was a crime thriller, superhero movie, morale. Like, that was, like, it was everything that we thought it was going to be. And it still exceeded all of our expectations.
I think Brad has something against your point with that little scrunchy look on his face.
I do, actually.
Come on, water. Thank you.
You're not going to hit Brad with it, are you?
No. I'm not going. I'm thirsty.
Wow.
Thank you. What's up?
So I would say that the counterpoint to this is all of this felt like a good Batman story.
Okay.
But as for actually encapsulating the essence of Batman himself, I feel like it still missed the mark.
How so?
As far as being a perfect representation of the character.
How so?
Because of the way that... how do I put this?
He's grasping.
No, I think he's trying to English like I do.
Yeah, no, I...
See, he can actually English, though.
Can he?
Yes.
He's a dad with 2 small children. I'm gonna like just throw that out
Because
there.
of the way that Batman approached the essence of how he tried to go after the Joker at the end of the movie.
Which was?
The big, massively invasive sonar system. I would say that for the era of Batman that was being represented by the character in the movie, I feel like that was too tech reliant and not enough wits and investigative reliant compared to what the traditional Batman approach was for the pre-Robin era of Batman. He's tech. He relies on tech, yes, but there's a lot more private investigator, hit the streets, go out and really track down the guy, rather than I'm going to set up a massive citywide surveillance system to try to find the Joker.
Sure.
That feels like it is a step too far in the realm of tech as far as what the traditional Batman investigative strategy would have gone to, because that feels more like the post Tim Drake Robin ideas of how far he should lean into tech. It does not feel like the pre-Robin Batman. That feels like a post Tim Drake Robin Batman.
So, I understand your argument. I do. However, I would argue that using the tools at your disposal is a form of detective work. And if you remember, Lucius Fox is the one that actually developed it, and he actually perfected it. So much so that Lucius Fox was even like, as long as this machine is here, you won't have me working for you. And what does Batman say? When you're finished, type in your name. And what does it do? It destroys the machine.
Oh.
Well, I can see the timeline being a thing. I don't think it's outside the reach of Batman using technology like that.
I just want to check something real quick.
In fact, if you look at some of the more recent stories from Red Hood and the Outlaws, that exact scenario is something that Tim Drake does come up with when he created his own version of Brother Eye.
Ooh.
What?
So, Brad, you said that this was a pre-Tim Drake Batman.
Yeah.
I hate to be that guy, but The Dark Knight is largely based on The Long Halloween, which ran in 1996 and 1997. Tim Drake's first appearance was in 1988.
You're getting real technical with your argument here, aren't you?
Wow, I mean, it is kind of our job for this type of thing to be insanely pedantic.
Hey, you see that thing down there?
Suck it.
You didn't have to say. You could have just done the... Everyone knows what this motion means.
What else you got, bitch?
Wow,
I
okay.
told you, using the D word and saying that there's a winner at the end would make him incredibly competitive. You invited this upon yourself, Brad. He even played by your rules.
I mean, in fairness, he did. He really did.
Reluctantly, but he played by your rules. You brought this on yourself.
Long,
The DX motion.
but, well, okay, I rescind my point.
You ready for that censor button?
No, you don't.
I didn't test it to see if I saw it working or not. So not this time. Next time.
Remember, we have
You got
words
anything?
like frack and frick that you can put in place.
You got anything?
I don't know if I got anything.
Like
An argument
an
against.
argument and a retort?
Not particularly off the top of my head, no.
And I knew that The Long Halloween ran after the introduction of Tim Drake. I just needed to be sure on Tim Drake's first appearance.
Fine. Frickin' fine.
You know what?
I know not to play this game with him. You know that, right?
Hey, I know
Like,
you don't know sports, but you know what a poster is? Happens in basketball when somebody gets dunked on. I can go ahead and sign it for you after.
Moving on.
So, Brad, who was the winner of this this little game?
I don't want to talk about it.
Frack you. I win.
I mean, did you also notice they just attacked each other and just kind of let me have my thing and my piece, and I just got to sit in my chair and enjoy myself?
Yep. And you did enjoy it, didn't you?
Enjoy what?
The ass beating.
No. I didn't take an ass beating.
His ass beating.
I just...
That's a yes.
Guys, save it for later. Save it for later. The ass beatings.
So you can say that, but I can't. You know what? Just go. We're coming up on time.
Anyway, so one last thing that we will have to
Yes.
try to get through decently quick.
Yeah.
Because we are way over.
Yeah, we're pressed for time. I gotta be
but-
somewhere at 7.
But, speaking of movie adaptations of a character, there's one last aspect that we do need to discuss this week, and it is a little less fun,
Yeah, it's
but
not,
we're going to
not
try
something
to...
I want to talk about.
We're going to try to have a little bit of a more lighthearted approach to it,
Yeah.
and that is...
There's nothing lighthearted about it, though.
I know.
yeah.
More celebratory.
There we
you
go.
go.
There we go. So, last Monday, we did lose a film legend,
that word
especially
is-
here in the comic book realm.
That word is used
but
way too liberally and way too often, but
Yeah.
in this point, it is
In-
more than appropriate.
in the realm of cinema, this man was a legend, and that
Yes.
is Richard Donner. He is the man responsible for the original big screen adaptation of Superman. He
It's all
would
3, right?
No.
uh,
We'll get to that in a
technically
second.
1.5,
Right,
but
yeah, 1.5.
he was responsible for like, the Weapon, for the Omen, for the Goonies. Even though Steven Spielberg usually gets credit for it.
Hey, you guys!
Richard Donner shaped Hollywood in many, many ways. But the biggest thing here is for a man that has as impressive of a filmography as he did, to hear him talk about any aspect of his career, you would not realize that he was as massive as he was, because he was one of the most humble directors I think I've ever heard talk.
Oh, yeah.
He was amazing, incredibly creative and talented, and yeah, Wonderful. So, Mike?
This one hurt a lot. Goonies is one of my favorite movies.
That's an understatement.
Superman is, like, the tagline for the Superman movie is, "You will believe a man can fly." Like, Richard Donner gave us that. Like, Richard Donner gave us arguably one of the best coming-of-age movies, even though it came out 35 years ago now. Like, a movie that still stands the test of time. Like, there it is. Like,
It was so good.
it was so far ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Gene Hackman.
So I would actually say that Gene Hackman's version of Lex Luthor from the first Superman was actually more representative of Lex Luthor from the comic books of the Silver Age than any other version that we've gotten. And in fact, Gene Hackman's version in the first Superman is the reason why we got the animated version of Lex
So
Luthor that we did
good.
from the show in the 90s.
Don't forget Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor. I mean, knowing
No.
what we know about Kevin Spacey, it makes a lot of sense.
Hey, focus
It
on...
was a joke. It was a joke.
But
Topic
I mean,
at
if
hand.
you
We
look
can
at
take pot shots later.
if you look at that version of Superman, to be able to see that you had a greedy businessman whose whole deal was to try to pursue profit at the expense of human life, and Superman, from beginning to end of the film, continued to push the message of hope and never wavered in that. Even when the worst came to it, spoilers if you haven't seen the first Superman from '78 for whatever reason,
Yeah.
but and Lois Lane dies before he does his, fly around the world in reverse time.
Not
magic.
exactly how that works, but you know.
Yeah.
Well, the
But
science aside
he
from
never,
comics.
Yes.
yeah, but he never loses that spark of hope within him, even when he was
That's what the S
broken
stands for.
down as a person.
I thought it stood for family.
It's family.
It's family. No, look, I think that was something that Donner did a really great job of. I think it's something that is very underrated, is his constant optimism in film.
Yep.
Like, all of his characters,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
like, except for the Omen, but that's the one that really stands out. Like,
That's its own box.
if we're being 100% honest, Omen is the one that you're like, one of these things is not like the others.
Which one of these things doesn't belong?
But I mean, and yet is considered one of the best horror films of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, you follow his cinematography after that. Like, even a movie like Lethal Weapon with somebody as absolutely as cynical as Riggs and Murtaugh, like, it's still like, now granted he did do all of them, which means unfortunately he did 4. But we'll look
Well, there's
past
only
that.
3 of them.
No, there's 4, unfortunately.
But
you sure?
Yeah, because they had Jet
remember-
Li in it, which was actually pretty dope.
But just remember that this is a man that took the script that was supposed to have been what was it? Mike?
What? What?
What was this movie supposed to have been originally?
Oh god, I'm drawing a blank. Sorry.
Die Hard.
Thank you.
And made this into a fantastic standalone film that had absolutely every bit of character development that it deserved, with the star power it had. It epitomizes
Riggs!
it epitomizes action films from the 80s in a way that so many movies tried but did not quite get.
Let's be honest, it also really helped develop some of those tropes.
Oh, without question.
Yeah.
But did it in a way that felt natural for the movie itself. It did not feel overly cheesy or forced. Even though, without question, the tropes are incredibly cheesy.
Yeah. But like, dude, like
That's
even
what tropes are, though.
Yeah, right. But like, even like when you go back to the Goonies too, it's like this constant of like, these kids really can't do this, can they? Like, wait, what? They're searching for
Very.
treasure in
Yeah.
Oregon? What? you're like, this should not work as a film in any way, shape, or form.
But it's so good though.
Yeah.
Like
it takes
it's still,
it takes kid-like wonder.
It does.
Runs with it.
But like even his last movie that everybody so many people forget, his last movie was 16 Blocks,
Oh yeah,
which was absolutely
wasn't it?
fantastic. And when was that? When did that come out? Came out in 2003. He hasn't made a
Yeah.
movie since 2003. But even then, that movie was so good about just the overall optimism and
Yeah.
the actual good in people.
Yeah.
Mos Def was amazing in that movie. David Morse was such an evil bastard.
I was gonna take a pot shot at you, but it seems like the wrong time to.
So,
But this was a man that could.
but let's not forget maybe his most impressive achievement of all time. And that was the fact that even though he got replaced halfway into Superman 2,
Yep.
and
Huh.
when the Donner cut came out,
Studio meddling in a Superman movie. I never would have guessed.
go figure. And when the Donner cut finally came out, it took so much effort to be able to try to restore and find and piece together as much of the original Donner material as possible. Put all that aside, Superman 2 was filmed simultaneously with Superman, not concurrently. Like, it was not a back-to-back, like, kind of Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter thing. This was, they would film one scene for Superman in the Daily Planet, and then immediately flip to film another scene for Superman 2 in the Daily Planet.
That means
in order,
concurrence the right word there.
yeah.
Yeah.
In-
He was saying not like back to back like they'll do.
No,
like,
I thought he said not concurrently. I was like,
No.
no,
Yeah.
that is concurrent.
Yeah.
Like,
in order to be able to...
You're a math teacher. How would you know if that's right?
In order to be
I
able
know
to
some
try to get
things.
the most out of the budgets that they had, because at the time they did not have a lot of budgets,
No.
and he had a massive vision for what these two movies were supposed to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you look at the scenes that were brought back for the Donner cut, the scale of how epic he was trying to make the scope
Yep.
of going
Yeah.
from story 1 to story 2 compared to what the scope of the second story ended up becoming changed drastically, not just in tone, but even to something as simple as you had the fight with what's his name, the dude that was Zod's
I know you're talking about.
right,
Yeah,
whatever his name was. That fight was indoors in the original in the theatrical cut,
Yep.
and Donner had him fighting in front of the Statue of Liberty
Yep.
to the point where Superman got punched into the torch.
Yep.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
The concept of scale between what the studio thought was safe
Yeah.
and what Donner was trying to accomplish
Yep.
was just so... you can't even compare the two. The studio was thinking way too epically small at the time, and this man had a vision that, even as much credit as Peter Jackson gets for how he did Lord of the Rings, back to back to back, no breaks, even that doesn't really compare to expecting all of your actors to be able to have 2 scripts memorized and ready to go on any given day that could still be having rewrites between either script.
Yep.
That is an impressive amount of talent as a director to make that work.
And the balls to even try it.
Yeah.
I mean, who
Like,
else
just
has come
very
close to
candidly.
something like that?
That there's a reason they don't. Like, there's a
It's
reason
not
they
easy.
don't. No. Like, but yeah.
I mean, the closest you get is the MCU right now, with multiple movies filming simultaneously, and like if
And shows,
anybody
now.
that's ever has seen the Chef show on Netflix, that first episode where they had Gwyneth Paltrow come on as the celebrity guest, she was talking about her time behind the scenes for the first Spider-Man movie, and she genuinely did not remember that she was in Spider-Man.
Yep.
Because they were also filming scenes for Endgame.
Yep.
And so she, in her mind, she was filming all scenes for the Avengers and did not remember that there were scenes for other movies happening during that time too that she was part of, and that's happened for multiple other Marvel movies.
Yeah.
That's the closest you've come, but that is a very different beast from the lower budget, much less massive coordination efforts that you had with Richard Donner.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it
Whole different thing.
Yeah. It sucks, man. It really does. Like, this one hurt.
Yeah.
Like, I was at work and I was like, son of a bitch.
No, were you at work? I thought it was when you got home from work and we were...
No, I saw it at
bed.
work.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I thought it was when we were about to go to bed.
Like, I was just,
like,
I was at work, like, just kind of scrolling on Facebook, and it was...
Yep.
Like, that one. This one sucks, man. Like,
Yeah.
a man that was so good at, like, making you feel the wonder of being a kid again.
Yeah.
Like, and just that hope and optimism that, like, children have. Like, it actually brought you out when you were watching his film, or brought it out of you
Yeah.
while watching, like, Superman, or The Goonies, or even some of his other stuff, like even Lethal Weapon. 16 Blocks. Maverick. Well, you know. But
There was one comment that Kevin Feige made in his presentation for, I forget what it was, but it was some big, like, kind of like a Lifetime Achievement Award that Richard Donner got. And Feige, had a chance to be able to work with Donner early on, and he said that there was one thing that Richard Donner did that he absolutely respected and tried to copy with the MCU. He said that in his office, Richard, or Dick as he preferred, had a sign above his door, soccer show on Apple TV.
Ted Lasso?
Yeah, Ted Lasso. Kind of Ted Lasso style, with just I think it was verisimilitude on it, which is the concept of being true to oneself and the source. And that was his approach to how he did movies, and he said that was one of the most important aspects that he said was as part of his approach to making Superman, because he wanted to be true to the source material. And so with every decision he made for the movies, with every line, every camera angle, every shot, every piece of it, he had to ask himself, is this true to the source material?
Yeah.
And the fact that at a time where comic book movies were not considered respectable, he was that dedicated to trying to speak truth to the character, and the material was amazing.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so I think that's about everything. Mike, do you have any other comments about
Sucks.
any of it? Yeah,
So, yeah.
it does. Kyla?
I
No?
said my piece.
So,
Okay, well then, guys, thank you so much. Once again, if you did not catch us at the beginning, we have been here at Madness Games and Comics in Plano. Such a wonderful place, and thank
Nerd
you guys
haven.
so much for letting us record here.
please keep
live.
letting us record here. We
Yeah.
like it.
Oh yeah.
I think they like it.
I hope they do.
And, if you want to be able to come check us out the next time we come here, hopefully there'll be the next time, you can come and be part of our live audience then. So just be looking out for the next
Come give him help.
big announcement that we have. But in general, though, if you've not been to Madness, you really should. Amazing store, massive selection of games, obviously it's in the name, very solid selection of comics, and about a third of their store is collectibles, and like we said earlier, proper collectibles, not just pops being called collectibles, but I mean there are still a lot of pops.
Like if you're into model building and stuff like that, statues.
Yeah.
If you're a plushie person, like action
Amazing.
figures, Funko Pops,
Amazing.
Star Wars, anime.
All of it.
Yeah, like we're here in the back of the store, and we're just staring straight at a massive section of Star Wars action figures.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. But yeah, so thank you guys again for letting us do this here, and of course, if you did not catch it the first 2 times that we did this, and you have not already, please do not forget to like and follow us over on Facebook.
Feels like a thumbs up.
Like and subscribe over on YouTube.
It's a big red
and
button.
you can always check out the audio of all of our shows, interviews, and now audio exclusive podcasts every Thursday at noon.
Again, after hours.
Totally
Yeah.
safe for work.
But
No.
not kid friendly. So don't. No.
No.
Over at Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher, because reasons.
All of them.
So
All the things.
thank you guys so much, and until next time, I've been Brad. That's Mike. It's Kyla. We are Dallas Geek, and
Hey, who won the debate?
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Bye.
See ya.